Good afternoon. My name is Braden, for those of you who might not know me. And I used to do videos about a couple years back, and then I called them Life Talk videos. And I have a YouTube channel called Braden Wallace Life Talk. Don't be afraid to like and subscribe. I won't mind that at all. It's basically what the channel entails is I talk about everyday life affairs, kind of just address them a little bit, maybe give some advice and listen to my own as well. Just kind of maybe elaborating on what we got going on in our lives or in someone else's life, things that can help us out. So I'd like to get that ball back rolling like I had 2 years ago. I did it for about close to 3 months and I kind of just stopped cold turkey. And I kind of been regretting it, and I've kind of had thoughts creeping in my head, thorns poking on my side saying, come on, do it again, do it again. It was working, or I hope anyway. So, but what this video is going to entail is, and it'll say it on the title, be more encouraging, less judgmental. And that's what this video is going to be about. Elaborating on that, being more specific about what that means. So basically it could mean like, example number one, this comes straight to mind. Somebody has a drinking problem. I was one of these people. I was a functioning alcoholic, and I'm still recovering and battling, keeping that addiction at bay. Somebody might have an alcohol addiction and they might drink a lot. Like me, I was drinking every weekend. And so let's say they get pretty turned up, as those kids like to call it. And they use that as a remedy for all their problems, to put band-aids on the wounds or whatever, numb the pain. It's logical, yes. And some of us tend to maybe be a little bit more judgmental than we should be and less encouraging. What we might not realize is that person who's drinking a lot, might do drugs, whatever, has a lot of internal pain going on. And heck, they could even have everything going for them externally. We would never think like they would be drinking or they even have a problem. Like, even people that we might envy might have a drinking problem. And we kind of think, how could that be? Well, you'd be surprised at what internal battles people are facing despite the good look they might have on the outside and the external, right? They could have a happy relationship with their family, be successful at their job, be rich, maybe famous. Got a lot of rich and famous people who actually are alcoholics. And some of us tend not to understand, and some of us tend to jump to conclusion and judge, and but like I said, we don't realize they got a lot more pain than we might realize. They got a lot of pent-up rage or pent-up depression or whatever, something they suppress deep down. They feel like alcohol kind of gives them that completion. It fills that void for them. And I was one of these people. I felt like it filled a void. I'd be a fool if I said things weren't going good, because I can't complain. I definitely can't complain. So, but people have more going on than we understand. And a lot of it is things we can't even see, things that they won't even show. When they're out in public and they're around us, they might have this aura, or this cocoon, you wouldn't think that anything's wrong. But there definitely could be. And it really doesn't come out unless they're alone or in private, because maybe some of those people don't want to bring others down around them. And that's admirable. And maybe they're trying to fend off these demons. Okay? So we got to try to understand, maybe take a few steps back. And like I said, I also, these videos are about me listening to my own advice as well as giving it. We take a few steps back and maybe try to see it from their perspective. And it's really hard for us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, but if we could, it would really change our perception and our perspective about that person. It really would. And honestly, I'm on the outside looking in sometimes, and I kind of get that notion too sometimes. It's like, man, how could you be addicted? I've seen people at the bar that were drunker than reason, drunker than me maybe, or I couldn't really tell, but and I asked them, like, man, you have a good girl on your side, you got kids, I mean, things seem going good for you. And and they said, well, and then I kind of caught myself there and I said, yeah, I guess there could always be other internal issues. Because then they could be battling something, and there could be things that happened to them as children, stemming all the way back to their childhood, that might have traumatized them. And when you're a child growing up, your brain's not fully mature, so if you experience something that's a little too much for a child to have to see, that scars you for life. You witness an accident when you're a child. That can be horrifying. The brain doesn't recover from that as easily as if it would if you were an adult, right? The brain's still maturing at a young age. It's still developing. The brain's not meant to handle stuff like that. So, and that can lead to people having an alcohol addiction. So, I mean, a lot of it is just us trying to put ourselves in other people's shoes and just trying to see where they're coming from. Now, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not saying to be an enabler. Don't enable. And if there is skin off of your bones from somebody doing something like this, then yeah, I mean, maybe be a little bit more stern. I'm not saying be judgmental. We still got to stay consistent with that one. But try to be, like I said, more encouraging no matter what. If it's skin off your bones, then yes, put your foot down and say, hey, I can't be letting this happen. Person's getting drunk and getting thrown in jail because they got a DUI, and then they're calling and asking you to bail them out of jail or something, and they're getting mad at you because you won't do it. Well, they dug themselves that hole, they put themselves there. It's not your responsibility to go rescue them. So yes, there still has to be some sternness and some guards that should be put up, right? So, but it comes down to just resetting the way we think. Understand how the person feels, get down on their level if you have to, or sit down with them. And a lot of people won't communicate what's wrong. A lot of people can't communicate what's wrong. They can't express their problems. I mean, it's kind of a lot to break down. And, if you're like me and you overthink, your minds are always racing, it's kind of hard to express it and condense your thoughts like that. That's a lot. So some of us can't communicate very well. But a lot of times when someone does have an addiction to alcohol, a lot of it comes from, like I said, it's an internal issue, bad memories, a lot of pain they're covering up. But a lot of us easily will tend to say, you got to have the willpower to put that down or withstand it or yada yada. Or we, tend to look at somebody as weak-willed because they're an alcoholic. Well, not necessarily the case. And a lot of studies that I've analyzed, I've looked up, is that willpower doesn't have a lot to do with it. Willpower doesn't really play a role in it. Some people, it's almost an impulse. Of course, at the end of the day, yes, we still do have choices. We're in control of our own actions and behaviors. But some people don't see any other way out. It's a mindset that has to be practiced. And, it kind of comes down to another addiction like I used to have was binge eating. I used to be grossly overweight. And before I got addicted to alcohol, I was addicted to binge eating. And I eventually went on a diet about, 6-7 years ago. And I lost 70 pounds in 1 year. And it came down to reprogramming my mind to be more addicted to the results that I was chasing after, to the goal. But that doesn't happen overnight. If anything, that took me 6 months. It took me 6 months to really get my act together and realize, hey, if you want to get somewhere, you got to cut back those calorie numbers, lower those numbers a little bit. Because when it comes down to dieting, you're your own boss. You can hire a nutritional advisor, but they're still only just that, an advisor. They're not your boss. So it comes down to, what you want to do. But yeah, and that's another thing, like a junk food addiction. Somebody might like to binge eat like I did. Well, that was my remedy. It was what I looked forward to. It's what kept me centered, so to speak. But eventually, I got my act together and I realized, if you want to change your life, then you're going to have to make some tough decisions. Make some tough sacrifices, but it'll become easier because you'll start to realize what it's doing for you. So, that's maybe some advice that somebody who's trying to defeat an addiction could take. But like I said, this video, of course, is not about judging you, because my video is actually entailing the latter, and that would be encouraging. Let's encourage our loved ones, our friends to, get on a better path, but don't try to force it. Don't try to pressure it too much, and don't talk down on them. Don't beat their ear, because honestly, as much as we hate to use this method, of tough love or letting them learn the hard way, that's almost the best way that they're going to learn, is the hard way. Because let's face it, I myself included, we aren't going to listen to words alone. And if we do, it would take a lot of words. I don't know if there's enough words that could be convincing enough to convince us to, maybe quit drinking or cut back on our junk food intake or quit using drugs or whatever. It's not, words alone aren't necessarily going to reach them. It's more or less about learning the hard way, action. Seeing what happens when you keep going down this path. You don't want them to go down that path and learn the hard way, but you also don't want to be belittling. Because if you belittle them and be too judgmental towards them, it's just going to make it worse. They're going to fall deeper and deeper into it. You're basically pushing them in that hole deeper than they already are in. That hole they are in. You're pushing them down deeper instead of trying to help them out. So keep that in mind. Let's try to be more understanding, more encouraging, less judgmental. And there's another thing too we could do, and that is, because a lot of time we might spend on, pointing fingers at others for their bad habits. There are plenty of bad habits of our own that we could fix. And like I said, I will listen to my advice again. I got bad habits. Still, even though I might have quit drinking for the moment, I still have a lot of bad habits. And that's another video for another day. But I try to focus on eliminating them, or at least minimizing them. Because if I focus on fixing myself more, I'm not going to have time to point fingers at every Tom, Dick, and Harry that I might care about and that might have a bad habit, bad addiction. I just need to focus on defeating my own bad habits for now. And then maybe along the way, I can encourage my loved ones to do the same. And I hope they do. Because it really is worth it. It's a tough road, but it's not exactly paved. But you get past it, and eventually it feels like it's paved. Eventually it starts to feel easier, is what I'm saying. So, I don't know if there's any more I could add to this subject. If you have any questions, any ideas of what I could talk about next, please leave a comment down below. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button if you like. I definitely won't mind that at all. And oh yeah, shout out to the Minnesota Vikings today for their win. Even though they scraped one by, win's still a win. Skol, congratulations. And I will see you all around. Have a nice day. Happy Sunday.